Welcome back, everyone. We're diving into something pretty interesting today. We're looking at a study that tries to figure out what really makes people happy when they buy an electric vehicle.
Yeah, forget all the eco-friendly stuff. We're going deeper. This is about what makes Mexican EV buyers truly happy.
Right. So our source for this deep dive is a research study. It was published in early 2025 in a Mexican business journal. It's called Mercados y Negocios.
Uh-huh.
Now, we all know the global EV market is like exploding right now, and Mexico's right there in the mix.
Right.
I mean, between 2016 and 2022, EV sales in Mexico jumped almost 83%.
Wow, that's huge.
Huge. But here's the thing that really surprised me. The study found that price isn't the top thing driving happiness for these buyers.
Interesting. So what is it then? What's the magic formula?
Exactly. We're going to find out.
Well, first we got to understand what consumer happiness actually means. It's more than just, a fleeting good feeling. It's this deep sense of satisfaction that's tied to a purchase. And it can actually impact brand loyalty and influence future buying decisions. Like, happy customers are more likely to stick around and tell their friends, right?
That makes sense. But I imagine measuring happiness is kind of tricky. It's not exactly a quantifiable thing.
You're right, it's not easy. Happiness is subjective and fuzzy, which is why this study used something called fuzzy logic to build a model to predict EV buyer happiness.
Fuzzy logic sounds a little philosophical.
Maybe, but it's actually a pretty powerful way to analyze things that don't fit neatly into yes or no categories. It's about shades of gray.
So instead of asking if someone is happy or not, it's about, like, degrees of happiness, kind of a spectrum.
Exactly. And that makes it perfect for studying something like EV buyer satisfaction, where feelings and perceptions are so important. So in this study, they looked at survey data from 52 electric or hybrid car users in Mexico, and they identified 21 different factors that influenced how happy these folks were with their EV purchase.
Wow, 21 factors. That's a lot. Did they break it down a bit?
Oh, yeah. They organized these 21 factors into four main categories: economic, social, technological, and environmental.
Okay, I can see how that would make it easier to digest. So picture this. We're at the dealership about to buy an EV. What kind of stuff in each of those categories might affect how happy we are with the experience?
Good question. Let's start with the economic factors.
Right.
These are all about the financial stuff, right? Obviously, the upfront price is huge, but there's more to it than that. Discounts, cost of repairs, how often you need to take the car in for maintenance, all of that comes into play.
Yeah, nobody wants to be hit with constant repair bills after spending so much on the car itself.
What are the social side of things? Well, that category is all about the human element. How are you treated by the staff at the dealership? Do they make you feel valued, offer personalized attention? Is the whole experience smooth and enjoyable? Those things really matter.
Right, it's about feeling like a valued customer, not just a number. Okay, what about the technological side? I'm guessing that's where the car itself comes in.
You got it. How reliable is the car? Are there any issues? What kind of benefits does the guarantee offer? And how long are those parts expected to last?
I imagine reliability is especially important with EVs since they're still a relatively new technology. Nobody wants to be stranded with a dead battery. Okay, and finally, the environmental factors.
Right. This considers the car's environmental impact, of course, things like lack of CO2 emissions, but also things like ease of access to a workshop for maintenance.
So it's about the overall convenience of owning an EV
Yeah.
in a way that's good for the planet.
All right.
Can't wait any longer. What are the top factors driving happiness for these Mexican EV buyers?
Well, get this. Price is not number one.
No way. Seriously, what is that?
The top driver of happiness is reliability.
That's really interesting. Why do you think that is?
Well, EVs are a big investment, and they're still fairly new technologies, so knowing that your car is dependable, that it won't leave you stranded, is a huge relief.
Peace of mind is definitely valuable. So if reliability is number one, what's number two?
Coming in at a close second is the guarantee. Having a solid guarantee gives buyers confidence that they're protected if anything goes wrong.
Makes sense. Even with a reliable car, things happen. So where does price actually fall in this ranking?
Price lands in third place.
Interesting. So while price is still important, it seems Mexican EV buyers are prioritizing things like reliability and peace of mind. What else did the study reveal about these factors?
Well, one of the things that stood out was how important service frequency is to happiness.
Service frequency? You mean like how often you need to take the car in for service? Why would that matter so much?
It's all about minimizing hassle. People are simply happier when they have to take their EV in for service less often. It means more time enjoying the car and less time dealing with maintenance.
I get it. The less time at the dealership, the better. Anything else that surprised you in the research?
One really interesting finding is that people have extremely high expectations for what they consider reliable in an EV.
So it's not just about avoiding breakdowns.
Right. It's about the whole ownership experience being smooth and hassle-free. They want a car that seamlessly integrates into their lives.
So that high reliability rating is a pretty tall order.
Definitely. But that's the level of expectation in the EV market these days.
Okay, so we got the top three factors: reliability, guarantee, and price. But earlier you mentioned that the researchers used fuzzy logic and even built models to understand this whole happiness thing. How does that all fit in?
Well, remember how we talked about fuzzy logic dealing with shades of gray? To capture that nuance, they actually built two fuzzy models, the MIFER-FES and the TREE-FIS.
Well, hold on a second. What do those even stand for?
MISO-FES stands for Multi-Input Single-Output Fuzzy Inference System. It takes all 21 of those input factors we talked about and uses them to produce a single output, the happiness index.
So it's like a happiness calculator, crunching all those variables and tell us how happy someone might be with their EV.
Exactly. Now, the TREE-FIS, which stands for Tree Fuzzy Inference System, is a bit more complex. It uses a kind of hierarchical structure, like a tree with branches. Each of those 21 factors is organized into a separate fuzzy system. Instead of one big calculation, it breaks things down into smaller chunks.
Okay, so two different approaches to measuring the same thing. Happiness. Did the study find that one of these models worked better than the other?
Interestingly, yes. While both models were useful, the TREE-FIS was actually better at predicting happiness levels.
So the TREE-FIS is the happiness prediction champ.
You could say that. And get this. The TREE-FIS model had an average error rate of less than 1%. That's incredibly accurate.
Wow, that's amazing. It seems like they've really tapped into something special here.
It really is remarkable. These models are powerful tools for understanding how complex human happiness really is. They go beyond simple numbers to consider the nuanced feelings and perceptions that shape our decisions.
It makes you think about all those times you bought a gadget based purely on specs and features, only to find out later that it didn't actually make you happy to use it.
Exactly. It highlights how important it is to consider those less tangible factors like ease of use and overall enjoyment, especially when you're making a big purchase like an EV.
So we've got the top happiness drivers for Mexican EV buyers, and we've gotten a taste of how fuzzy logic can actually predict happiness. But I'm curious, as EVs become more mainstream and technology continues to evolve, how do you think this concept of happiness in the EV market might change?
That's a great question. I think we're already seeing a shift in expectations. Remember, in the early days, just having a reliable EV that could get you from point A to point B was a huge deal.
Right, it was all about being an early adopter.
Exactly. But now, as EVs become more common, buyers want more. They want the whole package: reliability, cool features, a seamless ownership experience, and the knowledge that they're doing something good for the environment.
It's like they're saying, okay, now wow me.
Exactly. And this is reflected in the research. As EV technology keeps improving, I think things like connectivity, advanced features, and even the pure joy of driving will become more and more important to buyer happiness.
So it's not just about practicality anymore. It's about having an EV that truly enhances your life.
Exactly. It's about that feeling of excitement and satisfaction you get every time you get behind the wheel.
That's awesome. So what will it take to really impress EV buyers in the coming years? What features or innovations could become the new must-haves? I guess we'll have to wait and see.
It's going to be an exciting journey.
You know, it's fascinating how this research shows us how the EV market is evolving. It's not just about those early adopters anymore.
Yeah, it used to be that owning an electric car made you part of this exclusive club. But EVs are going mainstream. So the things that make people happy are, well, they're changing too.
I see what you mean. Back in the day, just having a reliable electric vehicle, one that got you from point A to point B without any problems, that was a big win. But people want more now?
Exactly. They're looking for the whole package.
Mhm.
Reliability, yeah. But also those cool features and a smooth ownership experience, plus that good feeling you get from driving green.
So it's not just about the practical side anymore. It's got to be an EV that really, makes your life better, that makes you feel good when you're behind the wheel.
You got it. And this kind of brings us to a question for all of you listening. So as EV tech gets even better and more affordable models come out, how do you think this whole idea of happiness in the EV market will change?
That's a great question. Will the things that make people happy with their EVs today still be the top priorities tomorrow?
Yeah.
Or will we have new desires and expectations as the technology develops?
It's fun to think about, right? What features or innovations do you think might become like the new must-haves for people buying EVs? What's going to blow people away in the next few years?
Hmm. Maybe we'll see car companies focusing on those personalized driving experiences. Imagine an EV that learns your driving habits and preferences, and then it actually adjusts its performance based on that.
Or what about like a seamless connection between your EV and your smart home and the city around you? Like your EV talks to your house and starts heating or cooling things down before you even get home.
Now, that's a smart car.
Yeah.
What about all those advancements in autonomous driving? Could that bring a whole new level of happiness to driving?
Definitely possible. Just imagine being able to relax and read a book or even, take a nap while your car does all the driving.
That would make my commute so much better. But we can't forget about sustainability, right? As more and more people buy EVs, we got to keep focusing on those environmental benefits that made people choose electric in the first place.
You're absolutely right. Finding happiness in the EV market shouldn't just be about us. It should be about building a cleaner future for everyone.
Well said. This deep dive has really given us a lot to think about. It seems like the things that drive EV buyer happiness are constantly shifting and changing. It'd be really interesting to see what the future holds.
I agree. It's going to be an exciting ride. As technology gets better and new companies come into the market, the quest for happiness in the electric car world will only get more and more exciting.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground today. We started by asking if price was the, ultimate factor in EV happiness.
Hmm.
And we found out that while it's important, it's not the be-all and end-all. We talked
Okay.
about those 21 factors that influence happiness,
Hmm.
from reliability and guarantees to the social aspects of the car buying experience and the feel-good factor of choosing something eco-friendly. And we even imagined what the future of EV happiness might look like.
Mm.
But there's one part of this research that we haven't fully explored. Those fuzzy models that the researchers have developed to actually predict levels of happiness, I think they're worth another look.
Yeah, I agree.
So let's take a few minutes to revisit those models and see what else we can learn. Okay, so we've talked a lot about what makes those Mexican EV buyers happy, from reliability and guarantees to the whole EV experience.
Hmm.
But, I want to go back to those fuzzy models for a minute. The ones the researchers made to actually predict those happiness levels, I'm still kind of blown away by how accurate they were.
It really shows you the power of that fuzzy logic, right?
Yeah.
It lets us measure all those little things that we humans consider when we make decisions. Even emotional stuff, like, how happy we'll be with what we buy.
Exactly. It makes you realize
Yep.
that happiness isn't just some random feeling. It's like there are actual patterns and things that influence it that we can learn about and even predict.
Yeah, and that's what makes this research so valuable for businesses, especially the ones in the EV market.
Because if you can understand what makes your customers happy, then you can make products and services that really hit the spot.
Right. Happy customers are way more likely to become loyal customers, and that's good news for any business.
It's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah.
And we've covered a lot in this deep dive. We started by asking if price is the only thing that matters to EV buyers. And we learned that while it's important, it's not the whole story.
Right. We looked at all those 21 factors that influence happiness, from the practical stuff like reliability and guarantees, to the social side of things like the dealership experience and the whole, feel-good part of going electric.
And we even imagined what EV happiness might look like in the future. This deep dive has given us a lot to think about. But before we wrap up, I want to circle back to those fuzzy models for a sec. We talked about how they work, but can you give us a specific example of how they could actually be used in the real world, like by a car company or a dealership?
Sure. Let's say a car company is making a brand new EV. They want to make sure it's a hit with customers, right? So they use one of those fuzzy models. They put in all the data they have, like the price, the reliability, the features, and even the customer service they plan to offer.
Okay.
Then the model does its thing and gives the car company a prediction of how happy people are likely to be with this new EV.
So it's like a happiness simulator,
Yeah,
helping them get it right before they even sell it.
exactly. They can use the model to play around with different features and prices, see how each change might make people happier. They can even test different marketing messages to see which ones connect best.
That's pretty cool. It takes a lot of the guesswork out of making the car and marketing it.
It does. And on the dealership side, they could use a fuzzy model to make their interactions with customers more personal. By learning about what the customer needs and what's important to them, they can tailor their sales approach and recommend the EVs that are most likely to make that person happy.
So it's not just about selling any EV. It's about finding the right EV for the right person, based on what really makes them happy.
Exactly. It's about making the experience better for both the buyer and the seller.
I love that. This research really shows how understanding happiness can be a powerful tool, not just for businesses, but for all of us.
Absolutely. If we can figure out what truly makes us happy, we can make better choices in life. Whether we're buying a car, picking a career, or just figuring out how to spend our free time.
It's about making our lives better and more meaningful.
Well said. And on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive.
Yeah, I agree. We've covered so much today. I hope everyone listening has learned something new and gotten a fresh perspective on the EV market.
We learned that happiness is a complex thing, but we can understand it. And by focusing on what makes people truly satisfied, we can make choices that lead to more happiness for everyone.
If you're thinking about going electric, remember to look beyond the price tag. Think about all the things that make owning an EV a truly happy experience.
Choose an EV that fits your values and your lifestyle, and one that makes you smile every time you drive it.
And if you want to learn more about this research, we'll put a link to it in the show notes.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into EV happiness.
Until next time, happy driving, everybody!